I snap. Nigga, ain't no hanging out. We tape y'all off and double back. Nigga, open trust accounts, deposit racks. Nigga, $1 million life insurance on my flesh.
What up, though?
Beamers, Benz, Bentleys, Rolex, nigga.
Rest in peace to the great Nip Hustle.
That's what's next, nigga. I ain't nothing like you fucking rap.
Where y'all from?
Hustle man, a shooter, that's a fact, nigga. 32 extendos in my Mac, nigga. Spend 1,000 on some t-shirts up at Saks, nigga. I ain't nothing like you fucking rap, niggas. Hustle man, a shooter, that's a fact, nigga. 32 extendos in my Mac, nigga. Spend 1,000 on some t-shirts up at Saks, nigga.
How y'all doing? Welcome to the Kenny Burns Show. Today is a special day. Ironically, my brother was actually supposed to be on yesterday. And because of his dedication to our people, he's been attending funerals. He's been on the front lines for a minute. And, obviously things went viral yesterday about my opinion on Diddy's statements. And, I think it was healthy for what's about to happen next. And what's about to happen next is he is now educated on the black agenda and will be going forward with that in a major way. But that'll be coming to local media for y'all to witness soon. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together in the comments for Shaun King. Got to get this man his due. Pow!
Yo.
Shaun King, welcome to the Kenny Burns Show, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's so good to see you. And I'm glad after all that's transpired over the past day, I'm glad it worked out for us to be here, because I don't even know that you and I see eye to eye on it, but at least we'll be able to hash it out together and talk about it and think through it out loud, man.
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to commend you on your work, brother. There's a thing called action and there's a thing called words. You are all action. You are on the front line. I don't know if you see all the applause happening in the comments, but you deserve all the great energy you receive. And I know you receive some disappointing energy that doesn't match your effort. I want to say, for our generation, I think we're around the same age. I'm probably a little older, so please take some of my nuggets as big brother isms. Right. But I think that, it's something to be said, man. People can say things about whatever and try to trump up things, pun intended. But I think at the end of the day, man, it's about the work. Yeah. And Shaun, you do the work. Now, you mentioned, obviously, these comments that I made in Puff's comments yesterday that were erased, and then I amplified them on my page. I have spoken with Angela Rye. I have spoken with Charlamagne the God, Killer Mike. They all share the similar views or same views as far as a black agenda. We all actually share that, by the way. There has to be a black agenda. My disappointment yesterday, and the reason I felt I should be the one to bring this up for conversation, which in action today got him with the right people to get the right answers for the black agenda, and now to go on public television and spread the right word. I felt there were two things wrong with that, Shaun. I felt that, one, you jumped out there having not been on the front lines in any type of activism in politics, in my opinion, since Vote or Die. I have business with Puff. I was at Revolt. We attempted a Revolt to Vote campaign and different things like that. So I know for a fact that that hasn't happened. So that was one thing. And then you're speaking for black people. You made it about you holding the black vote. After that, I didn't like the comment of holding our votes hostage until you come to the table. I felt like you don't speak for all black people, and nor are you really versed like the people on the front line. Again, giving you your credit, I talked to Charlamagne the God last night, which they had a topic on the Breakfast Club this morning as well. But those were the two things that really resonated with me. And what Puff doesn't understand is that although you made great points and we have to hold the status quo accountable for our community, you didn't lead with an agenda. You led with a statement based on personal gratification and selfishness as far as I'm concerned. Now, with having said that, I have to get this out because you know they're on my head.
That's all right. Go ahead, and I'll show you. I disagree with some of it, and then I agree with some of it. I think I come down in the middle on this a little bit.
Yeah, and so and with that, I think that he doesn't give enough thought in that statement to the people that just listen to what he says. We love headlines. We love headlines. We don't like reading the policy. We don't like reading full article. We want the quick notes. We want the cheat sheet, and we want to know where to go. And I think that with that, you know, it was prevalent. You saw the comments. People were like, "That's why I ain't vote last time. I didn't vote last time because my vote don't count." And that's not what you want. I know that's not what you want. You might not want the candidate running against Trump, but I would hope to believe you don't want Trump either. And there are two options in this electoral race.
Well, I thought what was hilarious about his video is when I saw it, I heard something totally different, Kenny. And I saw what Charlemagne said, and I saw what Killer Mike said, and I saw what our brother Isaac Hayes III said. And what I realized was, depending on who you are, I spoke to Diddy this morning myself as well. Depending on who you are, you saw that video completely differently. Like, it was almost to me like a Rorschach test, like a ink blot test. I heard it and I thought, yeah, I think I agree with almost every word that he said there. Charlemagne says something similar even in his post and comment. Just that we have to be able to. So first, let me start off by saying, yes, I think we have to defeat Donald Trump at all costs. I'm not wavering on that. Not at all.
Thank you for saying that, by the way. Thank you.
I think you have to start there. I think he's an active danger to us. He's a future danger to us, and he must be defeated. And the only way he's going to be defeated is by the nominee of the Democratic Party. So there's that. You know, I was a huge supporter of Bernie Sanders, and I've always been a constant critic of Joe Biden and his history, particularly
it's well documented.
Right. But I think that even if it's Bernie Sanders, even my relationship with Bernie Sanders has always been one that where I correct him when he's wrong. I challenge him where he's weak. And even when I did that, it's part of what caused me to really respect Bernie Sanders. Even when I did it, even sometimes publicly, he still kept me around. Right. And like, I was no longer disinvited when I was a public or private critic. And I saw Bernie change policies and grow and get better. So when I heard what Diddy was saying, I heard him say, listen, we need to make sure that the people running for president actually have real practical policies for Black people. And I think we can all agree on that. Like, I don't think you disagree with that.
No,
no. But if I'd asked you or Isaac or others who kind of came down on a different side of it, if I said, well, hey, can you tell me what Biden's policies are that are going to be like super helpful for Black people? People struggle to repeat those policies back.
Right. And well, let me just say this, Shaun. The difference is, I think, and this is where you get lost sometimes, in my opinion, where Charlemagne gets lost, where Killer Mike gets lost, even Angela Rye on occasion, although I think she is superwoman. You don't speak in layman's terms. You don't speak in
what do you mean?
No. I'm saying I'm saying when you're talking policy, when you're saying read policy. You know, my mother-in-law said that, you know, back in the day, you would depend on the church to tell you who to vote for, because that's just the way the mentality was. I believe because of people like you, because of people like Charlemagne, Killer Mike, so forth and so on, you guys are actively at it every day. You have the conversations, and it's clearly gone over people's heads. People like myself who admire you, right, and appreciate the work you're doing, I can understand and sift through, because I'm going to go back and do my research, right? I'm going to see, even in the conversation, like you reposted Puff this morning, and everybody was sending it to me like, look, he's on the same page as Puff. I was like, no, everybody's on the same page of a Black agenda. This is not up for debate. This is not like, you know what I'm saying? But I do
Well,
believe that there's a certain
also
way to
though,
communicate. And to believe it or not, Shaun, Puff is layman's, he speaks in layman's terms. So when he got up there yesterday and he was fake reading or whatever he was doing, it came across, even when he said this is a business decision. Do you know the overarching platform for Trump was business? If you're going to say that, please denounce that he got to go, just like you just did. Say Trump got to go after that. You left room. You said whoever gives us these demands basically gets our vote. That's what I heard.
well, again, I think everybody, and I only know a little bit about your history, and you've known Puff way longer than I have. And so I think everybody who has, like, so my relationship with Diddy, behind the scenes, he's been super supportive of almost anything I've ever done on criminal justice, on police brutality, like even funding and supporting those things behind the scenes. He's regularly called me to ask me if I could break down a complicated issue or send him some type of resource where he could kind of get some deeper insight on it. And he did the same thing this morning. He was like, listen, Shaun, can you break this, or this down? So he has people that he calls to get that insight from. But I think people who see him differently heard something totally different. And so all we can do is see through our own lens. And when I saw it and heard it, I came away agreeing with it, or at least agreeing with how he saw it. Like, he saw it as a businessman saying, listen, we have to be able to negotiate with presidential candidates on their policies and positions on what they're going to do for Black people. And him, as somebody who is in the business world and business space, I think he just saw it from like, hey, I have to make sure that he's actually going to do practical things to represent us before I put my full, wholehearted support behind this person.
Right.
And I agree with that, man. Like, so starting off, yes, Trump needs to be defeated. I feel the same way. Like, right now, there are 3 or 4 positions that Joe Biden has. And I've said it publicly and I've said it to his team privately. For me to actually campaign for Joe Biden, it's one thing for me to vote for somebody, but for me to campaign for Joe Biden, he's going to have to improve several positions that he currently has.
Right.
I want to do that. Like, I want to feel the confidence. Oh, he has improved this policy on mass incarceration. He's improved this policy on health care. He's improved this policy on the minimum wage. And so I'm looking at those things, and if I don't get everything I want, that's okay. But if I see him beginning to kind of come to the table on these issues, not to be, his policies don't have to be revolutionary, but he's going to have to grow and evolve on some things that matter to me for me to actually campaign for him. You
Right.
know?
So I would say this, little brother, because I just found out you are younger than me. I would say this. At the end of the day, we have so much work to do even after this election. The beautiful thing about Killer Mike and what he said on the Kenny Burns show the other day, he said that, local and state are just as important as federal. And,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And so, but there's a lot of education that has to come with that. Right now, we are 6 months away from an election. And the thought, because people aren't thoughtful, Shaun, the thought of people getting in their minds that you don't have to vote or your vote doesn't matter or we're going to stop everything until we get what we want, that could be dangerous. And that's all I'm saying with the things that Puff said. And I want to get off of Puff because it's not about Puff. My statement,
Sure.
my statement had come from even talking to Killer Mike and See the God and Angela Rye on my show.
Yeah.
I have a problem, and I said it to them, but like you, we can have, discourse without being so, you know what I mean? And I wanted to evoke the emotion that was evoked. Every talk show in America talked about that this morning. Today, he reached out to you, Angela Rye, and everybody else to figure out how he needs to move next. But that's my point. My point is you're on the front line. People listen to you. They understand that when you say something, you're not only talking about the politics. You just went to the funeral of the slain brother, in Georgia, or you're putting the legal team together for this one, or so those lines get crossed, and I defend you often. I don't need to know you or
You've always
speak to
been
you.
super support. No,
No,
I've appreciated it, man.
but
Yeah.
I'm talking about to powers that be, because you're necessary. It has nothing to do with. I mean, motherfuckers try to tell me, whatever about. I don't give a fuck about that. That motherfucker's on Instagram every day, fighting for somebody he's not related to, has no emotional connection to, and so. But I want you to realize how special your superpower is. And I had, like, again, Charlemagne last night. He's on the phone with me agreeing with what I'm saying because he understands that I know there's a black agenda. I'm like, Charlemagne, give him the agenda. He needs to call you, Shaun, Angela, whomever are, in our, atmosphere of this conversation and find out the facts. Even like you said, Biden has things on the website. It's just not enough.
Yeah, I think for me, a huge part of it, Kenny, I don't know if that's my thread or yours that froze here, man, but a huge part of it for me is trying to figure out.
Y'all gotta really think positive, because Shaun is a real deal activist on the front line, bro. On the front line. You know what I'm talking about? Hey, Ed Gordon. By the way, I heard everything you said, and you were intact the entire time.
Oh, I don't know who's managing the Baller Alert social media, but they've had a real disagreement with me on something that I think is good for us to talk about, because a lot of people have a problem with something that I keep doing. We're still in the primary, and in the scheme of presidential primaries, April is actually still early in the process. We're still before the Democratic nomination. Trump is, I think, a juggernaut of an opponent to go against. I think even in a bad time, I think he's very difficult to beat.
Facts.
So I know why people are nervous, but part of my role, and this is part of what I wanted to rap with you about, part of my role as an activist, as an organizer, is to hold people from our side of the table accountable. So I have to be able to critique Joe Biden on mass incarceration. If Joe Biden says he did things in the civil rights movement that he didn't do, part of my role as an organizer, as an activist, as somebody who worships the ground that so many people from the civil rights movement walked on, I have to say to him, hey, when you said you did sit-ins, you were lying, Joe Biden. Hey, when you said you were arrested in apartheid South Africa, but you weren't, that's not true, and it's not okay for you to tell that lie. What I have to explain to people is I have to walk a thin line between helping to defeat Donald Trump and also making sure that if the leaders that we're going to vote for are problematic, I still have to call them out, even if it irritates people. It can't be the case that Joe Biden lies to our face, and because we are so legitimately concerned about Trump, that we just shut up about it.
Right.
And so it's tricky, even for me every day. I don't want to do anything to help elect Donald Trump at all. But I'm also not going to allow the man to lie in my face and for us to pretend like his shit don't stink just because we know we're going to need him to defeat Donald Trump. Like,
Yeah.
there's
No,
got to be
I agree.
a way there.
It does, and you do walk a thin line. As it here's to Baller Alert. I think Baller Alert is as close to the layman term comment as I'm gonna get. You know what I'm saying? They deal with pop culture news and happenings every day, and they often explain it the way people need to receive it. And I think that when you do get asked from a Baller Alert or from another, reputable source, right? Because these are reputable Black sources for
who
news
speak to the culture, who speak to the people, right?
every day, right?
Yep.
And so I think that, like, when you think about that, it's also to, and I know a little bit about your history with Baller Alert. That's my sister, and I'm glad you did handle that the way you handled that. But
I love ball. They've been. I never mind if people are critical on substance. Like, we should be able to disagree on the issues and still
Well,
have a
let
loving
me tell you the
relationship.
issue, Shaun. It's really
Yeah.
no issue with you. You're doing the work. The issue is that you wanted something done, and then she needed something done, and you didn't do it. That's how people are, and you gotta, that's what it is. So that's done. We can move on from that. My thing with you is though, you just like you are so intelligent and equipped with the information we need. It's all how you tell it. And I was just receiving everything, and I know everybody else was. But that's how the message, like when you beat up, because you gone hard on Biden, right? And it's not like you really are. You're holding him accountable, like you said. I'm with you, but at the same time, if we was to judge everybody, Shaun, by every little thing or thing they did, now mind you, I am a product of the incarceration law. I when did that happen? 90 what?
We talking about the crime bill?
Yes.
Oh, that 92, 93, but
I got
yeah.
arrested in 1991 as a senior in high school. The drug, free zones were implemented, all these things, and that came next. Do you know what that would have did to me 1 year prior? I understand. I have my friend Tony Lewis Jr., his dad got caught up in the Rayful Edmonds sweep. This
Yep.
man had one offense. He's still in jail 30 years later. Rayful's
to this
apparently
day
out here breakdancing. My point is, bro, the way you're articulating it right now, it could be received. I think, for us, and you mentioned it being April. You mentioned it being enough time. But for layman's, when you see that the Democrats have picked a nominee and the Republicans have picked a nominee, that's our mentality. And I'm speaking for the layman's. Our mentality is like you got to choose one. So anything that remotely seems okay with Donald Trump is a problem. Now, I could go on record and say what people have told me in the past, like Donald Trump's going to win the 2016 election. I can't explain it to you now, but I know why. Makes me, and I'm a conspiracy theorist, Shaun, don't let me freak you out, but makes me believe that there are things put in. Look at Kanye. Kanye supports the man openly, even most recently in a GQ article. Like this is, and he's done horrible, inhumane things to our black and brown people.
Right.
I get confused.
Well, I think first thing we have to understand, there are 2 points that I've seen a lot of people make in response to the conversation over the past 24 hours. One thing I think we should definitely amplify is so much change that happens on the local level. And like, for instance, I run an organization called Real Justice, and we help elect district attorneys all over the country. And 95% of everybody who's incarcerated is arrested by a local police department, prosecuted by a local prosecutor, and they're sent to a state jail. And so whoever's president, the president only affects about 5% of all incarcerated people. The other 95% of incarcerated people are impacted by who you elect as sheriff, who you elect as mayor, who is the police chief, who's the district attorney. So most of the change that we care about happens on the local level with our city council, with our mayors. But the president matters. Like, the president still affects national policy. But when people say, listen, a lot of what we need to be fighting for is local change, I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely. And I do too.
But, the president impacts national policy that trickles down on a local level in so many different ways, particularly on judges, on federal law, on Supreme Court appointments. So I just think.
Wait, Shaun, you're saying, because I think I'm hearing you correctly, because it was one of my things I want to talk to you about. You're saying that the federal judge, the Supreme Court trumps all other judiciary in the country if they wanted to, correct?
Oh, yeah. Supreme Court is vital, and whoever wins the next presidential election is going to get absolutely at least one pick, maybe two more picks. And Donald Trump, as you may remember, stole a pick from President Obama and got an additional pick on top of that. And then not only that, but the president appoints federal judges all over the country. And those judges have a lifetime appointment, just like Supreme Court judges. So who the president is, like, I hear people all the time, and I know why they say this, Kenny. but it's just not true. When people say, listen, it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican, it doesn't matter if it's Trump or Biden, it, that's not true. People say that because they're frustrated with politicians, and I get that.
Right.
But it matters who's in office, and it matters who those judges are. Still, though, a lot of what we need to be fighting for is much more nuanced on the local level, where we have to be fighting for local district attorneys. Like our organization, we've now helped elect the new district attorney in San Francisco, in Boston, in St. Louis, in San Antonio, in the Deep South, in Jackson, Mississippi. So we're electing new district attorneys. We would like to see a new district attorney in Atlanta. A lot of cities that have Black leadership. There's a book that I would recommend everybody watching. I would recommend you read. It's called Locking Up Our Own. And it won the Pulitzer Prize last year. And it's by a brother named James Foreman Jr. His father was the legendary founder of CORE, James Foreman.
Right.
James Foreman Jr. is a law professor at Yale Law School. And the book is about the role of the Democratic Party and the role of local Black politicians in building mass incarceration. And it's a painful book, actually. I would put it side by side with the new Jim Crow and a book called Slavery by Another Name. But what it talks about is how in the early 90s, local Black mayors and city councils and others were so bothered by gang violence and the proliferation of drugs that they decided to basically help build the current mass incarceration state. And they joined with Joe Biden and others to lobby for the crime bill. And so you have to know who built this system so you can know how to dismantle the system. And
Right.
a lot of that stuff happens locally. And,
No, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question, brother. And I initially intended to start out the conversation, but you actually started the questions with the Diddy thing. But I mean, how do you deal with all this, brother? Like, I mean, this, I often tell my sister at Baller Alert, I'm like, yo, this shit is so heavy. Like,
It is heavy.
life could be heavy, but she gets entertainment news and gossip. You get death threats and fucking like you know what I'm saying? Like, and so my thing is like, first and foremost, how do you deal with all this? I was just watching, for Ahmaud Arbery, right?
Yep.
We just
Ahmaud
saw
Arbery.
that Ahmaud Arbery, the son and father, followed this guy, racial profiles, killed him, not even arrested. But you deal with these things all the time. Like, this is so discouraging. How do you mentally stay in the game?
Yeah, if you see my closest friend in this work is a civil rights attorney named Lee Merritt. And Lee and I, we've known each other since we were teenagers. And if you see on his post, just a few minutes ago, he posted on Instagram something that almost brought me to tears, because Lee and I work on all these cases together. And Lee said on his post that he feels sometimes like he sees ghosts, because Lee and I both work with dozens of families on any given day who've lost their loved ones to police brutality or to white supremacy or some form of violence. And we walk these families through it. And it's hard, man. It's first, Lee and I both feel called to do the work that we do. And so when you feel called to do it, it gives you the grace to do it. But he and I both have had to see counselors and therapists to work through it. Lee, for instance, regularly has to go see the autopsies and be there and see the bodies and inspect the bodies. Lee and I regularly have to, so if there's a horrible video of police violence, part of my job is to study it, sometimes hundreds of times, to understand it. And it's horrible. But part of why I do that work, Kenny, I do that work so that you don't have to do it, so that my wife doesn't have to do it, so that the people who are watching it, Lee and I do what we do in part so that you don't have to. Like, we feel called to do it.
And I personally adore you for that.
Well, I appreciate you.
I really do. And I want to say this because I feel like, we get so caught up in the rhetoric and the titles. We don't really look through that and see the work. And, I want to talk about this Gregory and Travis McMichael
McMichael, yeah.
of Brunswick, Georgia. Can you
Open white
please,
supremacists, Kenny. They listen.
yeah, please share that story, brother, because I don't even think people understand. This is Georgia, the state that I live in. Please share this.
Yeah, Kenny, I lived in Georgia for almost 20 years. And so Lee and I, Lee is a civil rights attorney, and he and I partner. If people go to @grassroots law, Lee and I partner on so many of these cases. And Lee and I went to Morehouse together. And in Brunswick, Georgia, which is South Georgia, outside of Savannah, for people who may not be familiar with the geography, it's a coastal city in South Georgia near Savannah. Ahmaud Arbery, who was a wonderful brother, a former standout football player there in Brunswick. In fact, all the way back in February, it was a brother from the NFL who played with Ahmaud who first reached out to me to tell me about Ahmaud's story. Ahmaud was 25 years old, and on Sunday, February the 25th, he is in the middle of the afternoon. He is out jogging in Brunswick, Georgia.
Oh, so this happened in February.
This happened in February, but we're just now hearing about it.
Wow.
And it's just part of why you're just now hearing about it is the New York Times just did a story on it this week. And
wow.
Ahmaud, and this is before the coronavirus pandemic. And what happens, the pandemic hit and it stole a lot of the thunder from this story, and it's finally picked back up. So Ahmaud is jogging in his town in Brunswick, is jogging through a neighborhood. He's not in people's yards. He doesn't have a weapon. He didn't steal anything. He didn't commit a crime. He has on athletic gear and is literally jogging through a neighborhood. He runs past a home owned by a man named Gregory McMichael, who is a retired police officer and for 30 years was the lead investigator for the district attorney's office.
Wow.
Just when Ahmaud runs by the house, Gregory McMichael says that he thought Ahmaud looked like somebody who had been robbing homes in the neighborhood. Basically what he means is he heard someone black had been robbing homes in the neighborhood,
right,
and he sees a black man jogging past his home. Gregory McMichael and his son, this is in their own statement.
Wow.
Then get a shotgun and a .357 Magnum, get in Gregory McMichael's pickup truck, and begin chasing Ahmaud down in the pickup truck. They then get out of the pickup truck, confront Ahmaud, and shoot and kill him right there on the side of the road. Clearly, Ahmaud was scared to death. We don't have a statement from Ahmaud because he's dead. All we know is that they got in their own car, chased him down, and shot and killed him right there in the neighborhood. Ahmaud broke no laws. He was unarmed, nonviolent, did nothing wrong. So when police get there, remember, Gregory McMichael worked for the police department. He worked for the district attorney's office. So he should have been arrested. Both of them should have been arrested in February. But because the local police department knows him and loves him, because the local prosecutor knows him and loves him, the case has just stalled out. Finally, it's starting to get the attention that it deserves. And it makes it hard, though, for us to organize. It makes it hard for us to investigate during this pandemic because we're all kind of staying at home and aren't as mobile as we normally would be. Both of these men, Gregory and Travis McMichael, are open white supremacists. Everybody in Brunswick knows that they're open racist. Even the photo that I posted of them, it's of them hunting. And, they basically hunted Ahmaud down and shot and killed him on the side of the road. And
where are they now and what is about to happen? Please.
Well, here's what's so infuriating. They are still all over town. Ahmaud's family saw them at the grocery store. Like they're just out and about. Like they're still living in their house, free as can be, and haven't been held responsible at all. And part of what we wanted to do is, first thing, no media organization had put their faces out there. So the first thing we wanted to do is say, here are the men that killed Ahmaud. Here's what they look like. And FYI, we have, and you notice on my post, I wanted to put on there, hey, we also have your personal address. Just want you to know that.
Yeah, that's a little gangster, Shaun. I didn't know you had that in you.
Well, part of what we have to do sometimes, Kenny, is if we don't get justice the way we want, I at least need these men to feel uncomfortable. Like these men had like if you look on my post, you'll see several gangsters on the post say, please send me that address. And I want those men and their families to see that and feel like, oh, we're in trouble right now.
But
Like I want them,
that's all they understand though, Shaun.
yeah,
See, this is where we get it twisted. And this is why I'm glad we've had civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And I'm talking about Malcolm X pre-understanding that
yep,
all people or whatever. I'm talking about get on your fucking head. Be worried about what can come to your door tomorrow. That's all they understand. They don't understand. Listen, they have killed their own to go to
yep,
wars that are pointless and
yep.
really rooted around money and greed. They have done the worst inhumane things of black and brown people since the beginning of time. They don't listen, and I'm not talking about all white people. I'm talking about white supremacists. I'm talking about people that are known fucking bigots. I'm not talking
Yep.
about white people. I do, however, know how my white friends went a little left during this last 4 years. Not
Yep.
saying that they with the shit, but I'm just saying. But I am saying that people like what's their names again?
Gregory and Travis McMichael, and
Yeah,
and
they
it
need
just
to
on.
be. They need to live in fear. They need to live in fear that when they walk out their door, that something can happen to them. That's the only thing they understand. That's the only thing they
Well,
understand.
I mean, we're fighting. Of course, we want. So at least the local prosecutor recused himself, and they passed it on to the next county. But what we're asking now, and we have a website that's launching tomorrow to help Ahmaud's family. What we're asking is for Georgia to appoint an independent prosecutor, and anybody that looks at the facts of this case, I've already had prosecutors from around the country look at it.
Yeah.
They all say charges should have been brought that night.
Right.
Ahmaud is the victim here.
Right.
And there's no way to look at this. And Kenny, when I get involved with a case, I have to look at it from every possible angle. There's no way you can look at this situation and see those two white men as the victims in this situation.
Period.
Yeah, they got in their pickup truck with a shotgun and a 357 like a mob and chased this man down. That's
Facts.
a violation of the law.
That's
And so,
yeah. Well, so why ain't nobody gonna pick them up yet?
well, you mean, well, you see, I didn't post the address because at the moment I post the address and somebody goes by the house, then that's on me. But
That's
I mean,
smart.
I've had several brothers literally reach out to me, just like you. I mean, I have a lot of brothers who are former gangsters or gangster adjacent who are who are my homies.
Hold on,
Who just
gangster adjacent. It could go down if you really wanted to.
right, who just said, Shaun, please send me that address. But at the moment I do that, and somebody, if they get injured or the
Facts.
McMichaels get injured, then that's
Facts.
on me.
Facts.
I do just want the McMichaels to know, hey, we do know where you live, and we're pushing for justice. And here's what I said to officials in Brunswick: if you all had arrested these men right away, we wouldn't be on here talking about we know where you live.
Period. Wait,
If
so they
you had
called you, Shaun? The Popo
no,
called you?
no, we called them. Yeah,
Oh,
we
I see.
called them.
Get proactive, Shaun. Stay
Yeah, yeah,
proactive.
yeah. So, but it's disgusting, man. It's a disgusting case.
Yeah, it is, bro.
Yeah,
It's sad, man, that to be honest with you, that we even have to be in the predicament that we're in sometimes, man.
yeah,
It really makes no sense. The thing, and again, this goes back to why, Shaun. This goes back to why. This goes back to why that Trump is not an option, and anything said in the public eye should not even be in the direction that he's an option. Which takes me back to my only disappointment in that conversation last night. I just need you. I beg of you, Angela Rye, the Killer Mike, see the God, the others on the front line that are really thoughtful and read these policies, not just the titles. The people that are really out here daily we could go back 5 years and you saying the same thing. I need you to say it in a way that's more connective to our people, because just saying that Biden is a whole asshole, whatever he did, X, Y, and Z, that's not enough. Because what that does is it makes us think, well, who we spoke, because nobody wants to vote for Trump, Shaun. You know that.
Right.
Like,
Right.
even if Puff, like Kanye's jumped out there and said he with Puff. I'm sorry, with Trump. I didn't mean to say that. But with Trump. And nobody's going to be like, I'm with Trump. But at the same time, we're not going to the polls, Shaun, if we are confused. That's just a fact.
No, I get it. And I think, we can't reduce. So again, when I heard what Diddy said, like I've heard Diddy talk about what is the agenda.
Don't
Here's the
make it about
agenda.
Diddy. I know all his dark secrets, Shaun.
No, no, I'm not. No, it's not about that. It's to say that I agree with the core idea that anybody who wants our vote on the presidential level, on the local level, on a regional congressional level, we need to be clear where they stand on the issues that matter. And that's not too much to ask. Like we have to be able to say that. But what I found is that some people, and I understand it, are so afraid of the Trump reelection that they feel like we shouldn't even ask for anything. We should just, no critiques of Biden, don't ask the man for anything. Like, we have to be able to do both at the same time, Like, I saw Isaac the Third even here in the comments, and I read a post that Isaac just made. Like, I lived in Atlanta for 20 years, and I campaigned with Isaac even for Mayor Keisha Bottoms and others. Like, I understand the power that happens in Atlanta. All my kids were born in Atlanta. I
This
lived
is
in
the
Atlanta for 20
epicenter of
years.
the world. Atlanta runs the world, period.
But even in Atlanta, we still have to be able to hold even our local leaders in Atlanta accountable. We have to be able to hold our local prosecutors and part of my job is to be the person that some people's job is to be close to power and is to be in a relationship with the mayor, a relationship with a presidential candidate. My job is to really speak truth to power and to say the hard things that you can't say when you're in that relationship. And so part of it is knowing, okay, here's Kenny's role in this. Okay, here's Isaac's role in this. Now, here's what we haven't done, though, Kenny. I need to understand your role and Isaac's role, and I
Well, let me
need you
tell
all
you
to understand
my
my role.
role, Shaun. My role is to stop letting our superheroes and our quote unquote fearless leaders do things for gain. Period. I am one that has always been about my people. Anybody who I've come in contact with, anybody I've worked with, I don't know you. I reached out to you applauding your work. That is the human I am. I am a human. I
Yep.
want people to be whole. Whole is the motherfucking goal. I don't care about lights, camera, action. I could have walked to Brooklyn for cheesecake 20 years ago. I could have been dancing and doing all types of jigs. I didn't want to do that. My goal, and I would never, all that I know about this entire industry, I would never write a book and discredit the culture. That is not my goal. My goal is to hold the powers that be responsible so that we can get the information. See, the
Yep.
information is what's missing. And that's why I always find people like you before I even know you and encourage you to do what you're doing. We have to cut the bullshit out. It's bullshit.
And well, I just want to say, for people who may watch this live or watch it later, part of us loving each other as brothers is also we have to be in relationship enough where we can critique each other, where we can say, hey, I think you probably should have said it this way, or you should have said, and we
Well,
can't
Shaun,
be,
you
yeah,
saw what happened this morning. You got reached out to. Everybody got reached out to get the real information. That was my point in the post, and that's what happened. That's how I effectively have been curating culture from behind the scenes for 2 decades.
right. Well, I just want you to hear from me, man, that if, if you see me going left or getting weird, tell me, man. Let me know, and I'll do the same for you. I think that's respect. Same thing. with Isaac, like I respect Isaac so much that we should be able to disagree with each other and then come back the next day or the next week and say, okay, now let's build. And we have to be able to do it that way. I will say in this era, even during the pandemic, people are super sensitive, man. Like,
Hey,
um,
bro, I love that you said that, Shaun.
yeah,
Facts.
yeah, it's a sensitive time, man. People are afraid. Um, it's a lot going. This is one of the weirdest times in modern American history, with Trump as president, in Georgia with Kemp as governor. We're in a global pandemic. The United States is now the epicenter of it. We're in an election year where we're not even able to campaign the way we normally would. So people are nervous. People are afraid. People are super sensitive. People's nerves are frayed, and it's just a weird time, man. And
And Shaun, and speaking of and you're necessary. We will
well, thank you,
protect
man.
you at all costs because
Appreciate
you
you.
are a truth teller. I only encourage you as your new big brother now that we've finally seen each other in person on FaceTime or whatever this is.
Yeah, yeah, IG Live, yeah.
Yeah, that you continue to be thoughtful in the delivery because see, what we don't do as black folk is forgive. When Shaun King says somebody fucked up and they fucking up and they this and the pedophile, whatever we looking at them sideways.
Yeah.
Now, in Biden's case, we might have to vote for that motherfucker, right? Because Trump is not an option. My point is just be more deliberate with the words that you use when you're going at people. You have to do it. You must continue to do it. It's very important for you to do it. It's just how we say things. And
Yep.
and to your point, man, about we all must be able to say things to one another without getting in our feelings, right? You're so calm. Like your voice is so calm. Like even when I listen to your podcast, you're so calm and thoughtful. You can diffuse anything, Shaun. Like you can diffuse anything. You can make the most rambunctious motherfucker chill out with your tone.
Yeah,
No,
I
but but but
appreciate that, man.
but
No, I
use that,
appreciate it.
Shaun. Use that
Yeah,
superpower in a way to connect because I just feel like you're in a non-opinionated business as far as I'm concerned. You are presenting facts. You are
yeah,
putting numbers on the board daily about injustices for our people. And for people, and I want to address this. For people who say he white, he not, he's, and I want to say this to you because I need to address this. He's taking money from his, on one, I don't give a fuck what you are. I know my granddaddy was white. Does that make me white?
well,
No.
I can answer that for people. And the
Not.
crazy thing is,
Go ahead.
Kenny, man, I've answered these things publicly so many times, and no matter, I could answer it here, I could pin it on the top of my page, and people are going to always come back to it. Man, I am almost white. Like I have a multiracial background,
Right.
and
Which
and
most of us
so
do, by the way.
right. And so anybody who knows my family history and my background, I've literally talked about my mother, my father, the relationship my mother had in 1978. And so there are a few things you don't get a say in. Like you don't choose how you look, you don't choose how you come out. And so here I am looking the way I look. And so
That wasn't the point. I was merely saying for all the naysayers and the people that have things to say about you personally that have nothing to do with the work you are doing are flawed. And they got to work on themselves. You know
yeah.
what I'm
And
saying?
but same thing though, Kenny, people I get people all the time who say,
And we're all
Shaun,
flawed, by the way.
oh yeah, man. I get people all the time who say, Shaun raised money for a family and took money. Kenny, I have never kept for myself a nickel for any family I've ever raised money for.
Shaun,
And
do not
what
apologize.
well no,
Listen
I
to me.
just want to say
Nobody,
what people don't understand, Kenny, is that that's a crime. And when people say, "Oh, this man's stealing money," listen, if you think I could steal a nickel from a family I raised money for and get away with it, then you don't understand how this system works.
but
And
I don't even want you to defend that because I don't think that's where you need to be in defense. I don't think you
oh,
need
I
to
get
be.
you.
No,
Well,
all I'm saying is And I was trying to get to the point of your flowers that I'm giving you. It doesn't matter what people say.
Yep.
It only matters what they do, Shaun. And you are doing the work. So, brother, we love you. We appreciate you. We support you. And before we go, you know, I just want to give our people a call to action, right? This is not about what everybody's saying about the Black agenda. It's not about not voting. We understand that. We are trying to fortify our futures with certain things in place going forward with the person we vote for. Can you please share those things with our people?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, because of the pandemic, it really puts us at a weird disadvantage in this election, where the ways that we would normally organize, knocking on doors with political rallies and the like, it puts us at a real disadvantage. But the good news is it also puts Trump at a disadvantage because one of his superpowers is large rallies all over the country with his base. And so the same things that we can't do right now, he can't do either. But it doesn't just hurt us in the presidential election. It hurts us with races all over the country where we're still trying to figure out how do we even get people to turn out for elections. So first and foremost, everybody who's watching this, and I see people here from states all over the country and even other countries, make sure you understand how you're going to be able to vote in this primary because there are important policies that are up for grabs. There are important seats that are up for grabs. Don't think that because it's the pandemic that gives you an opportunity to check out of voting. And most states now have allowed some voting by mail options as well. I hope that we're able to either be at a point where we're past the pandemic come November. Otherwise, I'm deeply concerned. Let me say this before I go, man. There are other races that I want people to pay attention to, and I think the first is probably your local district attorney.
Okay.
This November, there will be almost 1,100 district attorneys up for re-election. And in many of those places, there are good people running against them all over the country. And you have to pay attention who your local prosecutor is. A lot of times we're so frustrated with the justice system that you have an opportunity to change who runs that system through your district attorney. There are some good candidates running. I won't be able to go down the list now, but I'll try to post some stuff on my IG on what
And
people
I'll
can do.
repost it.
And then tomorrow we are launching a website for Ahmaud Arbery in Brunswick, Georgia, for Ahmaud and his family, the young man who was shot and killed by those white supremacists. And we're going to post some numbers that people can call, some actions they can take, and we'll also give some education there so people can understand that case. That website will be live tomorrow. It's going to be the website is going to be runforahmaud.com, but I'll post that tomorrow and you'll see all about it.
Okay. Shaun, listen, man. This is Wingstop Wednesdays on the Kenny Burns Show. Would you like a load of lemon pepper wings sent to you and the family? I know you got kids.
Yeah. Oh man, man, we're a lemon pepper wing family, man.
So hit me offline. I'm gonna have 100-piece sent with a little extra, but we'll get it. You'll get it today.
Yeah, I love that, man. Thank you, brother.
All right, bro. Listen, Shaun, keep going, man. We here when you need us.
Always, man. Take care, Kenny.
All right, love, peace.
Bye now.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Shaun King. You know, I didn't want him defending himself because he didn't have to do that. It was the point I was cutting, why I was cutting him off. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we're back to the music. Monica will be on the Kenny Burns Show. Monica is one of my favorite artists of all time and one of the first artists I've worked with. Follow me from my IG over to June Ambrose IG at 4 o'clock. We will be talking about, what everybody talking about. Stay tuned. It's the Kenny Burns Show. Love.